What's good, YouTube? This is ZDogYGO. I'm back again with another deck profile. This time I went down to my locals down in Indiana, and I actually got first place at both of my locals on Saturday, and I did that playing SuperHeavy Samurai. So I'm going to show you the deck real quick, just show you some of my reasonings behind it, and I would appreciate if you gave this a like and maybe a follow on my channel. So starting off with the SuperHeavy engine, obviously you play max out on the 1-card starters, so 3 bike, 3 Wakashi, 3 wagon. These are your 9 1-card starters. I didn't play the Metal Cruncher in this deck just simply because with hand traps being so prevalent now, you don't want to just normal summon the Metal Cruncher, and if that gets stopped, you don't really have a way to extend. Especially because it's not a SuperHeavy Samurai. So I went with these 9 just for numbers reason. I want to keep the hand trap count high, but these are your 1-card starters for the entire engine. These get you to the original board of Baron, Regulus, and Appaloosa plus follow-up. So these are the 9. You have to max out on these now, just with Scarecrow not being available. As well, we're playing 2 Big Benkai. You have to play 2 of this in this deck, just in case if you do end up drawing one, you still want to be able to have the other one in deck for your Wakashi. And then I'm also playing the Coral. This didn't come up a lot to search it with box, but honestly, it was just really nice to just be able to either search this with a Soul Piercer, or if you end up drawing this in your original turn, being able to keep the Wakashi in your face-up extra deck in order to just pendulum summon it out later for another body was actually really nice. So I think you do need to definitely play this now in this deck. I feel like it's just way too important. As well as for the ratios, we are playing 3 Soul Peacemaker. I think you have to play 3 of this now in the pure Samurai version, just because you need to reliably be able to get to your combo pieces more, especially with things like Droll and other turn-ending cards still in the format. You definitely need to just have this in order to get to your combo. And then as well, we're playing 3 Soul Piercer. I've seen some lists going down on this card, and just I don't think that's correct. I think you always, like, if you can just have this in hand before your Big Benki search, your Big Benki can just grab you like the Soul Gaia, so you just have another extender to play through more interruptions. As well, like, you can always just equip this to a monster if you already use your normal summon, like if you have to start with the wagon, and then like as long as this goes to grave, you still get the search. So a lot of times I was actually just equipping it from hand to one of my monsters, and then just linking the monster off, and then still getting the search with the Soul Piercer. So that was pretty good. And then the last bit of the Super Heavies, 1 Stealthy, 1 Soul Gaia, and then 1 Scales. Thought about playing 2 Scales, but it hasn't really came up yet. You have a lot of ways to recycle this with things like Tunneler, or just you can just reborn it later on with a different monster. But and then 1 of each of the extenders. I didn't really feel like you needed more. If I was to play another one, I would probably play the 2nd Soul Gaia, just simply because he's a level 4, and level 4s are way more valuable in this deck than a level 1. So, but that is all of the Super Heavies. The rest of the, I guess, kind of Earth Machine engine is the Gearbox and the Tunneler. Tunneler is still fine. I actually, I played my first event without the Tunneler because I just couldn't find mine. And then at the second locals, my buddy was gracious enough to let me snag his off of him. But Tunneler is fine. If you draw in your opening hand, it's actually really nice, because if you open full combo with the Tunneler, you don't need to end up searching it with the box. So like the box can just search you a General Coral for a follow-up. But I mean, you have to play box in this deck now. Without Scarecrow, you just need to find ways to get as many cards into your hand as possible. And something that a lot of the decks aren't doing that I've seen is I'm actually playing 2 Regulus. So I really like 2 Regulus in this deck because if you draw the Regulus, you can early on just summon the Regulus with, just a random super heavy to equip to it. You don't necessarily have to equip Soul Piercer. And now you're insulated from things like Nibiru, you're insulated from other hand traps. Now, obviously, if your opponent has a second hand trap, you're kind of in trouble there, but this just helps you play through so many interruptions. Also, even if you open one and then just being able to search the second one for your next turn is so good, because a lot of times you can force so many interruptions on turn 3 by just at the start just being like Regulus effect. Like this card just came up so much. And also just going second, like in games 2 and 3, this was an easy card just to side out for other cards in the side deck. So honestly, I think 2 Regulus is the way to play it now. I wouldn't play 3 just because it can get a little bricky, but I think 2 is definitely the way to go. That's all the kind of engine for the Super Heavy. Onto the non-engine, because this deck just is known for playing so much. We're playing 3 Fenrir. I think this card is way too good to not play it in this deck. Just being able to have free interruptions on your turn and on your opponent's turn. Also, just being able to produce another body for your Pendulum Summon is really good. And then I'm actually opting to main deck the Bestial, so I'm playing 3 Magnemite and a Druis Worm. This engine, I didn't know if I was going to like it going into this weekend, but honestly, as I played it, it was just insane just to be able to have this. And this engine is just so insane. It kills a lot of the runic plays, because now they have to waste their runic spells on things like a Magnemite or a Druis Worm, and the Druis Worm just gets you so much value in the runic matchup. Like this just clears so many bodies, and then if they do out the Druis Worm, you just send anything else on their board. Like this just outs the entire Mannequin Cat lock just by itself. So this engine was insane. I almost maybe want to cut one of the Magnemites and just turn this deck into 40 cards, but honestly, I think honestly I'm okay with playing the 3 Magnemite and the Druis Worm. This engine just gave me so much value over the weekend. And then the rest of the hand traps, this is kind of just standard lineup. 3 Ash, 3 Ogre, and 3 Veiler. Not really a lot to say here. This is just kind of what Super Heavy Samurai was going to post-ban list. Now with, like I said, with Tunneler, you always want to play a high volume of hand traps, so you can be able to draw into them and just have more interruptions for your opponent. That's the main deck. Like I said, it is 41 cards. The Tunneler was the 41st card added into my list, but honestly, like, you could probably just cut like one of the Reguluses if you wanted to make it 40, or you could cut one of the Bestials. But I really liked it. I didn't have any complaints about it. Extra deck wise, we are playing the 1 Saratobi. I feel like you have to play this card just because it's one of your only ways to out back row in the before siding. So I think this card is just auto inclusion. I'm playing the Train. I made this a few times this weekend. It was really nice to be able to extend with it. Make turn Wakashi and the Soul Piercer into this, bring back the Wakashi, and then you have a way to get into Genius before you pen summon. But it was hit or miss. Like I feel like you could play without this card, but I think playing with this card, I feel like it just feels much better. It feels more, it feels better to kind of goof the combo when you have this card. And then we're still playing the Excel and the Baron. You have to play this, especially if you open Bike. Just being able to make a Barone before your pen summon is just really, really good. So that's the synchros. XEs, we are on Baguska to help us get through those tough boards. Gear Gigant, this is how Wagon turns into a 1-card starter. You go Wagon, Soul Gaia into this, and then you search Wakashi that way. We are playing the Sargus package. This package is just super good in this deck because if you can't get to Genius, you just slap 2 level 4s together and then you make Sargus. So then you still have the Regulus play. And then we are playing the 1 Zeus. I did play against 2 Kashtira players this weekend, but honestly, like, they didn't ever go for the Zeus. I think one actually went for my Excel, which I thought was kind of weird. If you expect to play a lot of Kashtira, maybe you can fit in the second Zeus, but I thought this was fine. They're not really ripping extra decks anymore with only 2 unicorns. Then the links, I'm playing the 1 Genius. You have to play this in order to get to your Regulus. I am playing the 1 Ballista. I think this card is just absolutely mandatory now in this deck, especially with the loss of Scarecrow. Like I said, you need to be able to get cards into your hand so you can have a big enough pendulum summon to make your board. I'm playing the Platinum Gadget. Honestly, I never made this card over the weekend. If I was to change this, honestly, this would either become an IP or this would probably become a Borreload Savage. There was a couple games I played over the weekend where I really wanted the Borreload Savage, especially for like the later grind games. Just so like you had another negate to go into if you couldn't close out the game. But I never made this card, honestly. This is probably one of the more cuttable cards in the extra deck. And then we're only playing 1 Link 3. We're playing the Unicorn just to help clear pesky back row or pesky monsters. But honestly, it's more or less just to climb into Access Code Talker. I just wanted a Link 3 to be able to have to make my Access Code 53. Because Access Code plus Regulus is 81. So that's the easiest way to do it. And then the last Link 4 is the Appaloosa. This card this is almost always a part of your end board. Usually it's either Appaloosa and Regulus or Appaloosa, Baron, and Regulus with like 4 or 5 cards in hand. So a lot of times your opponent's never going to be able to play through that board. Onto the side deck. I opted to play the 3 Sage de Fleurs and the Spider Orchid. This engine, it was either going to be this or the Archfiend Eccentrics, but this engine over the weekend just absolutely overperformed. Like, especially against like Runic Fur Hire. If they go Mannequin Cat to summon something back to your field, like I had this happen probably twice over the weekend when I played Runic Fur Hire. They summoned back like an Ash Blossom that I used to extend, and then just immediately I just went, okay, Sage, target my Ash and target the Fountain. And they had to respect this card right away, or they were losing their Fountain. And then you can just simply link this card off, search the Spider Orchid, and then now you have an 8 scale and also another pop for back row. So this engine just absolutely overperformed this weekend. There was actually a couple games where I would just side in 2 of the Sages and not the Spider Orchid, just because this card does so much. Especially if you have like just Sage and like Soul Piercer, you can pop your Soul Piercer, get a search, and get rid of a card on your opponent's field. So this engine was just absolutely ridiculous all weekend. I loved it. And then for other hand traps, we are playing the Triple Go spell. This is simply just for branded. And then other like matchups where adding back from grave is really good, like Vanquish Soul. This was pretty good against. And then I'm playing the Retaliating Seas for branded. This card just overperformed a lot of times, especially against branded. I was originally playing the Jinzo and the Spell Canceller in one of my older lists, but I was just never able to get to them consistently, especially because you can't really trigger off your Genius anymore before your big pen summon. So there was not really a good way to search them consistently. And so I just opted to play another hand trap in the side. And Retaliating Sea just does really good. Like, it's a walking macro. And against, like, Branded, like, they can't really play around it very well. And then the last 5 cards in the side were just for combo. So, like, 3 Nibiru just to be able to play against things like Sword Soul and Runic Furhire if they went too crazy and didn't set up the carrot. And I'm playing 2 Jizukurus to be able to clear out other problematic monsters like Towers, game 2 and 3. But honestly, I wouldn't change anything about this side deck. I think this side deck is honestly ideal. Like, you have 4 in-group back row plus Saratobi in your extra deck. Just gives you so much play against back row decks, and especially like Ghost Spell hurts other back row decks too. And then you just have other cards for like general combo. So I think this side deck was actually really good. I would not change anything about this side. But that is the deck profile. Like I said, I think this deck is honestly still really good in this format. Like, I haven't had any complaints about it. And honestly, like I said, I think this deck is insane. Just gives you so much grind against certain decks, and honestly has a really good matchup against a lot of decks, especially like Branded, because they just cannot play through a lot of hand traps. But that is the deck profile. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, peace out, YouTube.